Welcome back, everybody. We got a very exciting announcement today. The Maria Hill hero was just revealed by Fantasy Flight Games as part of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box. She comes with the leadership precon, and we're going to look through it together. So first thing here, we have her identity card: 3 recovery, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. Maria Hill on either side, so same name in hero, same name in alter ego. If she gets some kind of team up card, that means she can be in either form to play that team up card. On her alter ego form, she has a deck building allowance, which says you may include the maximum number of copies of 3 shield supports in your deck from aspects other than your chosen aspect. This means if you're playing leadership, you can include 3 copies of, or the maximum number of copies, so usually 3, sometimes 1 if it's unique, of a non-leadership shield support. So for example, you could take Surveillance Team as 3 copies into your leadership deck, and you can do that for 3 different named cards. So you could do Surveillance Team, you could do Med Team, you could do R&D Facility. If you have a unique like Triskelion, that will be your max copies at just 1 copy, and that's going to take up one of your 3 different supports. As your action, you can exhaust Maria Hill, search your deck for shield support, and add it to your hand. So deck only search, not discard, but you can get any shield support directly to your hand. 6 hand size in alter ego, 5 hand size in hero, 9 hit points total. Her hero size, each ally you control gains the shield trait. So notably, this is only in hero form, not in alter ego. And this immediately makes me want to look at what are the best non-shield allies that get some kind of benefit from getting the shield trait added to them. And we'll go through that in a little bit. Her hero ability says reassignment, action, move 1 all-purpose counter from a shield support to another shield support, limit once per round. And these are those little green counters in your core set box, and it doesn't matter what the specific name of the counter is. You know, for thematic reasons, a lot of these supports will say, this is a this type of counter, this is a this type of counter. You still use the same green all-purpose counters, and so you can move one of those green all-purpose counters from one shield support to another shield support once per round. It doesn't matter what the specific name on the card is. Okay, so that's her identity card. We're getting a command team reprint here. This was originally printed in, I think, War Machine's precon. And then her very first card in the article, which is card number 8, is Support Staff. 1 cost shield support, 3 staff counters, but again, these are all-purpose counters. Exhaust Support Staff, remove 1 staff counter from it, generate a wild resource for a player whose identity has the shield trait. So this can be a wild resource for any player. Any player. I believe up until now in the game, the only shield traits have been in alter ego. So no shield heroes as of yet, but this will allow any player who is an alter ego and has the shield trait to get a wild resource. Now, because it's a support, you can move one of these staff counters to a different shield support with her hero ability. So it kind of has 2 purposes. Maybe you don't need that extra resource that turn, but you might want to have an extra counter on a different support. And let's move on here. Our first event, 1 cost reinforcements. Action, so not alter ego or hero, can be used in either form. Choose any number of shield supports with a combined printed cost of 6 or less. Place 1 all-purpose counter on each of those supports. So this gives you, again, more choices and some options. You could have 3 2-cost supports and place 1 on each. You could have 2 3-cost supports and place 1 on each. You could have a single 6-cost support and place just 1 counter. You could have a 1 cost, a 2 cost, and a 3 cost. We just saw her 1 cost support just a second ago. You could have a 4 cost and a 2 cost, a 5 cost and a 1 cost, this type of thing. A 1-1-4. There's all sorts of different board makeups where you'll be able to get multiple counters out with this reinforcements card. Let's see, moving on. Shield Director, 2 cost upgrade. Action, exhaust Shield Director, place 1 all-purpose counter on a shield support. So while her hero ability allows you to shuffle counters around, this one actually generates new counters, and it's an upgrade. This seems quite critical to her, getting new counters out, just so, you know, if you move a counter off a card and that's the last counter, you might discard that card. So maybe you want to add a counter to it with Shield Director first and then move a counter off so it doesn't get discarded. Alright, another event on the double, 0 cost, ready any number of shield supports with a combined printed cost of 6 or less. So Just like before, we have all sorts of different mathematical options to break this down. If you're readying a card that has a counter, you are going to be using up that card much faster. However, you are going to be able to ready shield supports that don't have counters as well. Stuff like Helicarrier, stuff like Sky Destroyer. So this seems to just generate straight value for those kind of supports. Let's see, moving on. Here we go, special funding. It's a double resource, a mental and a physical. After you spend this card to pay for a shield support, place one all-purpose counter on that support after it enters play. So this is another way for her to generate counters for her supports. If you add one to your hand with your alter ego ability, when you have this double in hand, now you can get a counter on it. Notably, this places counters on supports that might not otherwise have counters as well. So things like Helicarrier, you play this with special funding. Now your Helicarrier has a useless counter on it, except it's not useless because you can move it off your Helicarrier with your hero ability and onto a support where it will be useful. So maybe you draw this card and you don't have your command team, you don't have your med team, etc. And you do have your Sky Destroyer. You play Sky Destroyer with this card, you put a counter on it, and in the future you move that counter off of Sky Destroyer onto a useful target. Okay, next we have the Iliad, unique 6-cost support. 3 mission counters, shield, vehicle, action, exhaust the Iliad and remove 1 mission counter from it, choose, deal 5 damage to an enemy, remove 4 threat from a scheme, or heal 3 damage from an identity, any identity. So this essentially just solves one problem a turn. It's very strong. So you're either essentially just completely defeating a minion, deal 5 damage. It's not attack damage for stuff that matters, and it's not you because it's a support. Remove 4 threat from a scheme, or heal 3 damage. So you're answering a minion, you're answering usually a side scheme, or you're healing yourself up so that you can face tank and attack, or healing a different player's hero or alter ego. So Iliad has a lot of flexibility, I think. Very strong, very strong. Probably the highest floor of a single counter if you're generating counters anywhere. And then the Circe, or Circe, maybe it's Kirky. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but 2 deploy counters. Exhaust the Circe, remove 1 deploy counter from it, and choose a player. That player puts an ally into play from their hand, so it's put into play. So it gets around any play restrictions. So now you can use any sort of traded ally, and once you play it, or sorry, once you put it into play, now that ally is going to gain the shield trait as well, thanks to your hero ability. So definitely some combo potential here. Seems quite expensive for just 2 uses, but you will get some extra uses with if you play it with your special funding, or if you use your what's the shield director, is that what it's called? Yeah, shield director, this card. Okay, let's see, moving on. Okay, we have another 6-cost support here, the Pericles, 2 supply counters. Exhaust the Pericles, remove 1 supply counter from it, give a hero or villain a status card of your choice, give an ally or minion a status card of your choice. So we saw in the shield box there are some minions that have the vulnerable keyword, so they get discarded when you give them a status. So the Pericles seems built around statusing vulnerable minions, so you discard them. But what I'm mostly looking at here is this is a Confuse for Maria, because it looks like she doesn't have any other Confuse in her kit. It's a Confuse from Maria, so she can flip down and use that very strong alter ego ability, and it's a tough for an ally. So all of a sudden, you're either blocking an attack with that ally, or it's kind of a pseudo heal. And we'll see once we get into the deck building how this is, maybe more flexible than we think. I think this might be the card I'm looking forward to most out of all of these cards that combo with her. Giving yourself a tough is always great because she does only have 9 health. She is a little bit flimsy, but essentially giving a Confuse and flipping down stops an attack as well. So a Confuse on the villain, I would say, is maybe stronger than a tough on yourself. And then a tough on an ally is very good, and we'll see how this is really coming together to form some ideas. And then we have the Hard Call, 2-cost event, hero action, discard a shield support you control, deal X damage to each enemy, where X is the printed cost of the discarded support. So we saw these big 6-cost cards. Now we're dealing 6 to every single enemy. It's non-attack damage, gets around guard, gets around retaliate, this kind of thing. Doesn't matter if you're stunned. So very, very fun, strong card, it seems. All right. We have even more cards. This is looking great. 3-cost Victoria Hand ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health, shield traded ally. After Victoria Hand enters play, ready a shield support. So you get to ready your Iliad. If you play her with Cersei, she readies Cersei, you can play another ally from your hand. She can ready your Helicarrier. She can ready your support staff, your command team, your med team, whatever it is, she can ready it. Just like your on the double event. Now I'm not sure it's worth running her over something like you already have on the double in your hero kit, and then you have Agent 13 who can ready shield supports, and she's basic. With Maria, I'm more looking at cards that benefit from getting the shield trait added to them rather than already have the shield trait. So it doesn't look quite as interesting to me at the moment, but she definitely seems like she'll be the core of some combo decks in the future. And then organizational support. When you spend this card, exhaust up to 3 allies and or supports you control that share a trait with your identity. Generate the printed resources on each card exhausted this way. So immediately you have all of these supports, you have some very expensive cards you want to play. This is up to a quadruple resource, which is quite strong. There's a lot of supports that don't exhaust for their abilities, like Triskelion. If you ready a bunch of supports with on the double, now you can exhaust them and gain resources for organizational support, or maybe you exhaust them for organizational support and then ready them with on the double so you can still use them, either or, this kind of thing. For other things, this immediately strikes out to me as a good combo for the Brawn ally in Ironheart, because you exhaust him, you generate his resource. He's either a wild or a mental, maybe. Actually, we should just look up. Let's just look. Brawn. Oh, he's a physical. He's a physical. Okay. So you exhaust him with organizational support. You generate this wild. You generate bronze, physical, and then you're still in the window to use his resource ability as well, generating another mental. So this seems like it could be good for Ironheart, because you can use it to play Moon Girl. You can use it for her alter ego ability. You can use it to play any of her expensive early game cards, like her upgrades, or she has that 3-cost event that does a bunch of stuff. So I think my next use after Maria Hill might be Ironheart. Sticks out at me. Okay. So I think this is the end of the article. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Grant Ward, 0-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, shield, spy. He cannot defend, so you play him, can't defend. And then forced response, after you reveal a treachery, you may spend a mental resource. If you do not, take damage equal to Grant Ward's attack and remove Grant Ward from the game. Now there's a whole bunch of different scrying tools that can make it so you don't reveal a treachery. If you have a mental resource generator like Ingenuity or something, maybe this doesn't matter to you and you can just exhaust to keep him around. He's almost like a loan. You play him up front for very little, and then you might have to repay him back over time. So it looks like they're establishing S.H.I.E.L.D. as very mental heavy. You've got Grant Ward, you have, there's the Black Widow S.H.I.E.L.D. ally who you spend a mental on, but he's got very good stats here. He's got signature ally level stats, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health. And honestly, if you just play him for 0, you thwart for 2, and then you let him discard himself and you take some damage, that might not even be that bad. There's heroes that actually want to take damage, like Spider-Ham, this kind of thing. So I don't know, he's basic, he's 2 thwart for a single card. He seems very good to me. And I'm wondering if there's any way that we can blank his ability as well. I'll have to think about it. He's a spy, so he lets you play spycraft, this kind of thing. Take it damage equal to his attack. So if his attack is reduced, I wonder if there's any way you can reduce his attack in the game. Something, Storm. Storm has, what's the card that reduces everyone's attack? Is it Blizzard? It might be Blizzard. So if you play him in Storm, you're taking less damage if you hit a treachery. Now you're doing less attack with him, but if you just want him to thwart, then that's perfectly reasonable. Yeah, seems like an interesting glue card in the future. And then Front Organization, 0 cost support. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. When an encounter card effect would discard a card you control, discard Front Organization instead of discarding that card. Personally, I don't see any real use case for this. If I'm going to discard a card, I mean, why wouldn't I just run a different 0 cost cheap card instead? Like, do you ever use this over something that's going to have an additional use and is also a good discard target? It would have to be an effect that forces you to discard a specific card, and then that this redirects that effect to this. But I'm not sure if that's worth a deck spot. And deck building has been getting very hard lately. There's so many good cards. You can play it under any player's control. And it only stops discarding. So there's like those strife cards that bounce the card to your hand. This isn't going to stop that. It can be any card, so not just supports and upgrades like Caught Off Guard. If something discards an ally, you can save an ally. But yeah, it's got to be an encounter card effect. So I'm not sure how useful this is really. Okay, so that's a good look at Maria. Now I'm going to open up Tabletop Simulator, and we've got some deck building here. So I've pulled out a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. supports, and her hero ability lets you take 3 off aspect. Of course, we have Pericles and the Circe in the announcement article. And again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that because I'm going to be saying it a lot. So I'm sure it'll get on some of your nerves if I did get the pronunciation wrong. So those are also available here as well. So if you're running leadership, you get Triskelion Command Team R&D Facility without having to use your deck building, and you get Circe as well. But then you have to pick 3. You don't have to, but you can pick up to 3 of the remaining ones. So the things that stand out to me are that Field Agent, Med Team, Command Team, R&D Facility, Circe, and Pericles all help with allies. The Triskelion a little bit as well. And then Maria gives allies access to the shield trait. So Field Agent here is looking very good to me. It's got 3 counters. It's a hero interrupt. When a shield ally would take any amount of consequential damage, exhaust Field Agent, remove 1 backup counter from it, prevents 1 of that damage. So this is a very strong reason to be in hero for her. You want to give your allies shield, which is only in hero, and you want to reduce their consequential with Field Agent. Now if we flip back to Pericles for a second, let's go to Pericles. Pericles gives an ally tough. Now, if you give an ally tough, and then you reduce the consequential it takes with Field Agent, if it's only taking 1 consequential, then it's not going to pop its own tough when you use it, and that tough is still going to be there in the villain phase. So you play an ally, you give it tough with Pericles, you have Field Agents, you can still activate that ally, and then you have that tough ready to block for you. So I think Field Agent is going to be like a must-have in any you're ought to make it in I think just every single Maria deck. But in terms of off aspect cards, I think you take it in every non-justice one. You take Field Agent and you take Pericles. I think those are immediately 2 that you just want in every other aspect. And if you're in Justice, fortunately you already get it. If you're in Protection, you already get it. The other side here we have Med Team. Exhaust Med Team, remove 1 medical counter from it, heal 2 damage from a frenzy character. So Med Team and Pericles are both pseudo-healing your allies. If you give a tough to an ally with double consequential with Pericles, you basically just healed it for 2. Med Team is also healing it for 2. If you put in Command Team, you can now use that ally twice, once normally, once with Command Team, and then heal both of those with Med Team. So I think this is another really potent combo from her, using Command Team and Med Team in sync. R&D Facility is pretty strong because you get any friendly character, including allies, you get to increase its stats, and if you have Command Team, you get to use it multiple times. So this seems like the core of any kind of like Voltron deck for her. Now the fact that 2 of these cards are Protection and 2 of these cards are Leadership means that you're going to have to make some choices in terms of any non-leadership or protection. So immediately I really like leadership and protection for her just because you get these cards without having to use your deck building restriction, and that means you can add in all three of the other ones: Field Agent, Med Team Pericles, or Command Team R&D Facility Field Agent, this kind of thing. And Justice, you get access to Field Agent. Now this remains to be seen whatever the Aggression and Justice 6-cost shield supports look like, but this immediately stands out to me. Triskelion. Now we've been able to get an extra ally limit for some time in basic, just using build support plus the nowhere support always gives you +1, and I haven't seen it be used too much, but taking the Triskelion in like an aggression, like ally wide deck, that kind of thing, where you have boot camp, it does seem like plausible. It's just that even in that kind of deck, I think I would still rather have 3 med teams or 3 command teams. Now there is some like role compression here, like maybe you don't take Med Team if you have both Field Agent and Pericles because they're kind of doing the job that Med Team is, but Med Team is doing a lot of healing. But it is very expensive, it's easier to run 3 1-cost cards than 3 3-cost cards, this kind of thing. And hopefully you're using your Shield Director to keep Pericles topped up. You can always like move counters too, like a Field Agent counter could become a Pericles counter, this kind of thing. So having really easy to play shield support in Field Agent seems useful there. Government Liaison, hero action, exhaust Government Liaison, play a shield card from your hand, reducing its resource cost by 1. Now I'm not as into this card for Maria, I think. 1, it's a hero action, so it's not going to work in Alter Ego, like say you flip down, you exhaust, you get a shield support out of your deck. 2, it doesn't work for non-shield allies in your hand because they don't yet have the shield trait. And then 3, you can't stack it with itself. So I think instead of Government Liaison, I would just rather run Helicarrier and then all the stuff that readies Helicarrier. And you get Helicarrier can discount the same cost twice as long as it's the next card you played. You exhaust Helicarrier, you ready with On the Double or Agent 13, and then you exhaust it again, and the next card that you play is 0 cost. Well, I guess you can't do it with On the Double because that would be the next card you played. So you can't double tap Helicarrier with On the Double. You can double tap it with Agent 13. Or you can just use it 2 times for 2 different cards throughout your turn. Helicarrier exhausts, you play it 1 card for -1 cost, then you play On the Double to ready it, and then you exhaust it again for a different discount somewhere. Or even exhaust it for like organizational support. Sky Destroyer, after you play a shield card, so just like with Star-Lord Nowhere, all of your non-shield allies that gain shield as a constant effect are going to gain shield before Sky Destroyer would trigger. All those allies are going to count for this effect. So after you play a shield card, exhaust Sky Destroyer, deal 2 damage to an enemy. So all of your shield supports, your shield upgrade, and then all of your allies, every single ally in your deck, as long as you play it while you're in hero form, will gain the shield trait, and you can exhaust Sky Destroyer for. Now I've got some allies picked out here. I don't remember what color is what, so let's just start here. Okay, so we got some leadership allies. So these are allies that I think stand out to me in terms of support with Field Agent, Med Team, Command Team, Pericles, this kind of thing. Giant Man, he gets +2 attack while he has 3 or more remaining hit points. Well, if he never takes Consequential because of Field Agent, he's always going to be at +2 attack. Very strong here. Adam Warlock, very good activation ability. You discard 1 card from your hand, and then depending on the printed resource, you do the thing that he says. She does have a double. Her special funding double resource is a physical mental, so you have to remove 3 threat, deal 3 damage. Now, I don't know if that's really that great because I would rather spend it and get that free counter, but it is something to point out. Adam Warlock has one of the strongest activation effects in the game, so worth pointing out with him. X-23, after she attacks and defeats an enemy, ready her. So she is perfect for R&D facility. I did that in a Psylocke leadership deck where you pump her up with R&D facility and then she just readies a bunch. So you can heal her with Med Team to keep her around all game. You can heal her with Field Agent, keep her around all game. Give her extra readies with Command Team. Seems good. Beta Ray Bill. After Beta Ray Bill attacks and defeats a minion, remove 2 threat from the main scheme. So it's just more role compression. He's helping you with minions and the main scheme at the same time. Keep him around with Med Team, why not? Keep him around with Field Agent, give him extra readies. Cable. After Cable thwarts and defeats a side scheme, draw 1 card. Well, she's going to love economy, so extra card draw is perfect, especially if you play like Mission Leader with this too. Now you're drawing 2 cards. Keep him around with Field Agent. If you tough him with Pericles, you can even like use his attack so that you can block both consequential with the tough. Seems good. And then Goliath, pump him up with R&D facility, pump him up with his own ability, and then you ready him a bunch with command team, tail as old as time. And then all of these allies are fairly expensive, so you get them into play for free with the Circe. So I think those are some good leadership options for Maria. Let's move on to this. I don't remember what stack this was. There we go. Okay, we got protection. So these are some of the protection allies I think stand out really well for her. Black Widow, she's a shield for all of your shield stuff. So triggers Sky Destroyer in Alter Ego, just because she keeps the shield trait. And then she helps you get around those advances if you want to keep flipping back and forth. Daredevil loves having toughs because then you can keep healing off any consequential he uses. Rogue, just a super high value ally. You ping some damage somewhere and you can play all sorts of allies, but you ping an ally, ping Maria Hill's hero, get her extra stats. You can give her extra stats with R&D facility, and then you just ready her with command team, heal her with med team, heal her with field agent. Love that. Warpath, he loves extra ways to get toughs, and that's what Pericles does. Pericles re-toughs Warpath. Now, he only plays events with hero action, and she has regular action cards. So the hard call is the only event with hero action in her deck. So I'm not sure how strong this is going to be for Maria in particular, but that's kind of like, you know, Warpath's entire history with the game. It's like, wow, this is really cool. You get to break the rule, and then it ends up being just like completely normal, not game breaking at all. All right, so let's pick this stack next. Okay, we got aggression. All right, so aggression. Gold balls, he gets up to 4 attack super easily, and that's, you know, you get him extra with R&D facility, ready him with command team, heal him with med team, perfect. Brawn has a lot of long-term value. After he attacks, remove a threat from a scheme, so every med team counter there is going to be 2 thwart, 2 attack every single time you heal him, and also field agent him, this kind of thing. Thor, really good with R&D facility. He can attack every single minion, engage with any player. So you pump him up with R&D facility, now he's at 4 attack. Maybe you put a tough on him so that he's not taking double consequential, or you reduce his consequential by 1 with field agent so that you can use him more times. It seems perfect for Maria Hill. She-Hulk, once you get her to very low health, so that she has like a ton of attack, then you can just keep her at low health with field agent. So she is at 1 health and she never loses that 1 health. She gets up to a lot of attack there. Ready with command team, boost with R&D facility. You guys are kind of seeing the pattern here. Wolverine, double consequential, piercing. Very good. Again, a bunch of expensive allies. You play them for free with Circe. Any kind of like ally upgrade Voltron type stuff is going to be really good just because she can support the allies with readies and healing. Alright, that makes this one Justice. We have Wiccan and Daredevil, who are both very good long-term value. You have Jack Flag as well, but he's much slower. If you can just command team and med team all the time, which you could command team Jack Flag, but I like the immediate value of Daredevil and Wiccan just a little bit, especially if you're using like global logistics with Wiccan. Maybe you can get some benefit there. Okay, Wraith. Hero Interrupt. When a boost card is turned face up, exhaust Wraith, deal 1 damage to him, cancel that card's boost effect. So you can offset that damage with healing from med team. You can offset his consequential damage with field agent. So seems very good if you're worried about any sort of boost effects. And then the ally that I think is the most standout here is Wolfsbane. After Wolfsbane thwarts, name a card type, discard the top card of your deck. If that card is of the name type, you may add it to your hand. This is, I think, the first use of global logistics for your own deck in the game that actually makes me want to run and use global logistics on your own deck. I think almost always global logistics is better used on the encounter deck to give yourself a free turn or 2 turns. But here, global logistics lets you see the top 4 cards of your deck. And then as long as there's enough thwart that Wolfsbane can keep thwarting, you can heal her with med team and keep readying her with command team. Like let's say you get 3 command teams out and you thwart with Wolfsbane 4 times, you can draw all 4 cards that you looked at with global logistics. This to me is like the reason to run Maria Hill Injustice, these two cards right here. Keep around with Field Agent as well. So yeah, I don't think you want to buff Wolfsbane's stats, because the more you buff her stats, the more threat you need to keep using her draw ability. So if you're running her a bunch with Command Team and you run out of threat, oh, you can't draw that last card. So I'm not sure how much R&D facility or like mission training with Children of the Atom, etc. is going to be good for her, except maybe in like high multiplayer with tons of schemes out. But I think I would go to Global Logistics and then Wolfsbane 4 times with Command Team, keeping her out with like Field Agent or Med Team or something like that. And then draw those 4 cards, and then you're essentially plus 3 cards. Thanks to Global Logistics, you spent 1, you drew 4, so you're at plus 3. You use those 4 cards, and you play another 6-cost Helicarrier. Boom. Wolfsbane. That is a combo right there. Alright. Okay, that makes the last stack the basic stack. Before we go over the basic stat, let's look over some of these other cards I've picked out. Okay, Global was under there. Okay, I don't know why I have 2 boot camps. Let's talk about these 4 cards. They're not shield supports, but they are good supports. So like if you're running these ally-based strategies and you're flipping a lot, MedLab helps get you an ally. War Room helps like get you extra value for each of those, for at least one of those allies' activations. Same with Command Center. Hangar Bay works really well with Pericles. You block with that tough ally, you're ready the tough ally, you can use it, heal it with Field Agent, that kind of thing. Boot Camp gets you extra attack for all those allies, like Thor ally, Gold Balls ally. They're all shield allies, they're all getting +1 attack from Boot Camp and minus consequential from Field Agent. Enraged works really well with Field Agent or Med Team or Pericles, where, hey, Thor now has 5 attack, 6 with Boot Camp, 7 with R&D Facility. He's attacking all minions, and he's taking +1 consequential, but he's tough because you toughed him with Pericles. So even though he's taking 3 consequential, he's actually taking 0 damage. And you can reduce the consequential with Field Agent or heal it back with Med Team. I think Enraged looks really good for Maria Hill decks. Global Logistics we talked about already, but she wants to be flipping a lot, so Justice helps her flip. Global Logistics, she has plenty of ways to exhaust cards for Global Logistics, plenty of targets for it. Any ally she plays is going to be a Global Logistics target. And then if you do target a support, then you can ready that support with On the Double. Chance Encounter. Cersei wants allies in your hand. So Chance Encounter gets you any ally from your deck or discard pile immediately to your hand, and then you can instantly put that ally into play with Cersei. So very good toolboxing with Chance Encounter. And then, okay, we've got 2 player side schemes here. Build Support, Superpower Training. Superpower Training seems critical to get Shield Director. That card seems so good. And then Build Support gets you any of your 3 or less cost supports, which there are quite a bunch. And then both of these are instant clears by Iliad. Iliad seems like a very good player side scheme clearing card just because it's removing 4 threat minimum. And yeah, you're crushing any player side scheme pretty much. So yeah, those are some of those cards. Let's tighten that up. And then let's see, here are the basic allies. Alright, so Gambit and Snowguard are basically just here for big stats. They can both get to 3 pretty easily, which works very well with Med Team and Command Team. And then Gambit is another way to help you get to Alter Ego because he lets you scry the encounter deck. War Machine, he's a tough, and you can reduce his consequential with Field Agent so that he keeps his tough. So, very useful. He is natural shield. And then Gamora, you can play her with, or put her into play with Cersei. And now, in Hero Response, you're getting +1 card every turn, and you can keep her healed up with Field Agent or Med Team. Just keep her around all game, drawing into your On the Doubles, into your reinforcements, into your hard call. That seems like a really strong leadership Maria Hill focus right there. And then I think the 2 allies that are going to be in every single Maria Hill deck, Agent 13, after she attacks or thwarts, choose a shield support, ready that support. So you can ready Iliad, you can ready Pericles, you can ready Cersei, you can just have 3 command teams out, and then she readies command team readies her, she readies command team readies her, and you just do that until all the counters go down. I did a Captain Marvel deck with Voltron Agent 13 years ago. And it's just like a lot, especially if you R&D facility her. You just R&D facility her, boost her attack, and then command team her 9 times, maybe more if you keep putting extra counters on command team. As long as you keep her healed with med team and field agent, then you can just keep going with her. But I think the best use is going to be readying Helicarrier so you can play more expensive shield supports. And then Dum Dum Dugan, 3 thwart, 3 attack, 5 health. When you use one of Dum Dum Dugan's basic powers, exhaust up to 3 shield cards you control. Note, it's any shield card, not just support. So all those allies you played, you could play a bunch of cheap 0/1 cost allies, Blade, Grant Ward, Ant-Man ally, whoever, and they all gain the shield trait. You can exhaust them with Dum Dum Dugan, and then he gets +1 for each thing you exhausted. So you can go up to 6 thwart, you can go up to 6 attack, you can boost him with R&D facility, get him even higher, and then you can make him take 0 consequential with a tough from Pericles, or you can just prevent a consequential field agent, heal him back up with med team. You can ready him again. This could be your win condition, that you have this huge board, but it's like all med teams, all command teams, it's not damage dealing stuff. So he exhausts for 6, you ready with 1 command team, and then you exhaust for 6 more, this kind of thing. So this could be a very good win condition. 5 cost, you put him into play with Cersei, ignore that 5 cost. Alright, so that's kind of the gist of where I'm looking at with Maria. I think Field Agent, Med Team, Command Team, these are kind of the core cards. Anything that deals with allies, I'm not so interested in Surveillance Team or Tac Team or Triskelion with her. I'm not as interested in natural shield allies, except for Agent 13 and Dum Dum Dugan, really. I think you want to try to look for allies that are going to give you the most synergy with heals and readies, or extra tough from Pericles, this kind of thing. War Machine taking 0 consequential saves his tough. Very neat little interaction there. Sky Destroyer is going to be in every deck, Helicarrier in every deck. Government Liaison, I'm not as keen about. Much more restricted resource, having to be hero locked, having to be a shield card in your hand. I would much rather play Helicarrier, ready it with Agent 13. Now, in terms of like opening strategy, she does have a guaranteed 7 resources turn 1 because of her alter ego. You can exhaust her alter ego, draw a shield card into your hand, play it, and then you have 7 cards just like that. But the other thing that I'm looking at is, or I guess the options I'm looking at, you can either use those 7 resources to play 1 6 cost card, like your Iliad, your big Iliad, which is like maybe her strongest Helicarrier. But anyone who's played an Avengers Mansion turn 1 knows that you're bound to get caught off guard turn 1 if you do that. You know, Karma is just going to come at you, and it's going to slap that card right across the table. The problem with, I think, going with 1 big Helicarrier as well is she's only 9 health. So you need a way to survive turn 1. If you stay down, you might get schemed out in solo. If you flip up, you might get attacked and you die to any sort of dual attack. Any of those many scenarios where you get an extra encounter card turn 1. So with 7 resources, what can you do? You can grab Helicarrier. That's 4 resources. It gets you 1 back. So you're still at 4 resources. Then you could play Command Team, maybe with a double. And you still have 2 resources. You could play a Field Agent. Okay, so it's something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see. Yes, because you're getting 1 back with Helicarrier. If you have one of your doubles, which you should have, I think she's got 2 special fundings, maybe 3, and then 3 doubles. So you have 5 or 6 doubles in your deck. That's a pretty likely opening right here. If you don't have a double, you can play 2 field agents maybe. I think if you have a lot of money, you could go Helicarrier, Med Team, Command Team as your opening. But yeah, so I think wide and small. Go for like a big fleet early, and then your reinforcements is going to give you many more counters. Your on the double is going to have a bigger impact, and you're setting yourself up to play a bigger Helicarrier turn 2, maybe after you flip down or something. Like you start with your 5-card hand, you flip down, you exhaust to get Pericles out of your deck, and then you still, even though you only start with 5 cards, now because you have Helicarrier out, you can play that Pericles and confuse the villain. And I think this is a much better setup turn 1, and then you do Pericles turn 2, and now because you have Pericles out, maybe turn 3 you get Shield Director, and you can just keep confusing and flipping every single turn and get your strategy going. So I think this is maybe the move. Even if you have a dead command team turn 1, you can still exhaust it for things, you can still move counters off of it. Yeah, I think going low and wide is going to be better than dropping your big Iliad. If you lose that Iliad, it's in your discard pile. You can't get it back because your alter ego only searches your deck. So you don't want to put all of your helicarriers in one basket, I guess. Is that Does that work? I don't know. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a preview look at the Maria Hill reveal article. Really stellar work from Fantasy Flight Games, Tony Fanchi, and the gang. She's looking like one of my favorite hero designs of all time, just so unique. I've not really seen a super support-based hero just yet. I think there are some worries that the helicarriers might be too expensive. They do have a good synergy with a hero like Captain Marvel. You got those triple resources. You know, if you play Cersei with Chaos Magic and Scarlet Witch, and then you use Cersei to play 2 more allies, you kind of doubled your power of Chaos Magic, which is like a very expensive ally deck for Scarlet Witch, works a lot of times anyways. I think there are some niche uses for these cards. Pericles is a Confuse in Protection, and we did see a recent Confuse with Astonishing X-Men. We know Miles Morales ally has a Confuse. Professor X, of course, can Confuse. So Protection has a more flippy strategy, I think, nowadays. You can really flip in Protection, whereas you couldn't so much in the past. I think I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I'm just going to stop it here, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're looking forward to Maria Hill, and I hope you enjoy her when she comes out. Have a great day.